welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Amanda. Whenever I was 17, almost 18 years old, I left a cult that I was born in. If you would like to hear more about that, I'll have the video linked down below in the description box. It's been a while. Hi guys, how have you been? I feel like it's been so long. I was trying to do a weekly video, but stuff got in the way. I had a math exam and a math test in the same week. And then my little brother Esco came to town, and so I just kind of put things on the back burner, and I'm seeing a new therapist. Do you guys care? You don't care. Anyways, so last week we talked about the case of the missing finger, and this week we're going to be talking about the Bountiful Baby Graveyard. So if you remember last week, how I talked about the holy spot. Remember how I said that I would pray and I would face north so that Glob and Jeebus could hear me better? Just culty things. This story takes place at the Bountiful holy spot. So let me just get all my makeup and stuff together, and then I'll be right back and we'll start the story. I look like Sabrina. Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I never look like what I'm going for. Do you know what I am? I'll give you a hint. So I did all my makeup beforehand, not all of it. This is my idea. I'm gonna go from Alice to like creepy Alice. I didn't want to do my makeup with you guys on camera because I literally only was doing my makeup with these two brushes because I left my brush bag out of town when I went out of town. So I've been doing my makeup with these two brushes for the last 2 weeks, and it takes a really long time and it's very boring, trust me. So, but you know, I always thought that, you know, I needed all of these expensive brushes to be able to like be good at makeup, but I think that I've been wasting my money. So before I get into this video, I did want to just give you guys a little bit of a warning because there will be talk of child abuse and possible murders of infants. So if you can't handle that, I totally get it. Don't watch this video. I have other videos that aren't so morbid. This one's going to be a little bit harder for me just because everyone in this story is related to me. So I'm going to try to just keep this as lighthearted as possible so I don't get depressed. Okay? So if you notice me like making little jokes here and there, I'm trying to not get too upset over this. So you've been warned. So, like I have mentioned in my previous videos, the order had started back in 1935, and that was around the Great Depression time. So, as you can imagine, people are struggling around that time. They don't have a lot, and the order starts with only a few people. There's not very many of them, and they all start living at the Bountiful holy spot. And at this time, Charles had already gotten the keys from God, you know. Glob was like, basically, Glob and Jeebus, they took the keys from the LDS and they gave them to the Kingstons. So the Kingstons now are the only true church on earth, right? So at that time, they were consecrating everything too, so they had this little shed that they would put their things in that anyone could use. That's another thing that the order thinks that they're doing right and that every church is doing wrong. They believe they're the only church in the entire world that does polygamy and consecration right. They talk bad about other religions saying, oh, they only give 10%, or oh, they only do donations when they can. We give everything to God, which I personally think they only did that and they started doing that because they lived in the Great Depression and they had to do that to survive, right? You have to share if you want to survive in that time. And then I think they just kind of continued on because they realized, you know, the leaders realized that they could just put everything in their pocket and take advantage. That's what I think. So of course at this time they're scrimping and saving their money as much as possible, right? And they are trying to share as much as possible. They're also, I don't know if I mentioned this, they're living in tents, a lot of them. And so if you can imagine, this is Utah, you know, and so living in a tent, especially around the winter time, you're gonna get sick, you know. No matter like how hard you try, you're gonna get sick. Strep! Sorry, I was thinking the other day of what sicknesses kids got in the order, what was very common, and strep was one of them. I don't know why I couldn't think of that until now. The order doesn't really believe in doctors, so they're going to do home remedies over going to a doctor any day, right? They're not going to first of all, they don't have the money really to go to a doctor, and second of all, they don't really believe that modern medicine is really a thing. They still don't. Like, now they have an order doctor that they go to. Like, he's in the order and he went to school, but they're still really weird about doctors. Like my sister had her appendix burst, and like they didn't even take her in for like 3 days. She almost died. The doctor yelled at my dad. He was like, if you would have waited any longer, she would have died. I'm gonna put this on really quick. I'll be right back. So the most common things that babies would get sick of, and even when I was growing up, kids were getting strep and whooping cough and pneumonia. And it was very rare to see someone take their kid to the doctor, even if they had like a deathly case of pneumonia or something like that, you know. And I think even Priscilla, I should ask her about this, but Priscilla said that she, as a baby, she had a really bad case of whooping cough, and they never took her to the doctors, so she was permanently, after finally getting over the sickness, it had messed with her, I don't know if it was her vertebrae, I don't know, but her neck was like permanently kinked, and she had to like correct it later. But like, if you ever see a baby picture of Priscilla, her neck's like this all the time, and it's so sad. Because I was watching home videos the other day, and I noticed that, because my mom used to babysit Priscilla. That's like in the 2000s, whatever. Just imagine what it was like back in the 1930s, 1940s, right? What happens, you know, if your baby's sick or if your baby's injured? They would just try their at-home remedies, which they have a lot of. You got a cold? Comfrey. Got the flu? Comfrey. Cancer? Comfrey. Anyway, so they would have these at-home remedies. Comfrey. I can never get these eyelashes right. Where was I? So I can't think and do my lips at the same time. I'm gonna go put this contact in. In the Great Depression, and let's say you have a stillborn baby or a miscarriage, you're just gonna bury it in the front yard, right? I have a story about that. You want to talk about that? Okay, I'm gonna tell that story. So when I was like 11, I was helping my mom, because my mom had all of her babies at home. All 10 kids she's had at home. The 9th kid they had me help like get rid of the placenta. And I just remember there was this like placenta in a bucket, and it didn't stink like I thought it would, but it was a lot of blood. I was shocked. We buried it in the yard, and then a day later my dog dug it up and tried to eat it. We had to like rebury it far away from the dog. Isn't that gross? So people still do that today in the order. They bury the placenta, or they'll eat the placenta, they'll crush it up and put it in pills, which isn't like uncommon. Yeah, you can imagine if they're doing that now, what did they do back then if the baby was a stillborn, or if the baby was a few years old and died of strep or pneumonia? What if the baby was a few years old and was abused and died from its injuries? What do you think happens? I obviously can't say I know for sure, but I'm pretty positive that there were cases of child abuse where the baby died and they buried it and no one knows. Back then, they didn't have to get birth certificates for like a few years. My own dad didn't get his birth certificate till he was 8 years old. So they would wait a while to get the birth certificates, and my opinion is they did that because they didn't even know if the baby was going to live anyways. So they would wait till the baby's like old enough to be able to fend for itself, and then they would get the birth certificate. So I believe there's a bunch of undocumented babies that were buried in Bountiful, whether it's abuse or whether it's something else. I mean, in the order's core teaching are that if your baby is crying... Sorry, my camera shut off, so I guess I'm gonna have to tell that story over. I'm frustrated. I personally do believe that a lot of babies did die of abuse, because one of the main things that the order teaches, or at least taught, I'm happy to hear that it actually doesn't happen as often now because, you know, older siblings are stepping in, but one of the core beliefs was that if your baby is crying or being disobedient, then you hit them. Hit them until they be obedient. And we already know that there was a case, I talked about this in my escape story. There was a case, I met the cop that was on the case where the baby was abused so bad. It was a Kingston baby who was abused so bad that it died, and they tried to claim that it had fallen or something, but from the autopsy the baby was abused. Like this was more recent. So stuff like that still does happen, sadly. Now let's get on to the stories that I don't know if they're true, but I've heard them. I've got this fake blood and I'm so scared it's just gonna get everywhere. So here's what I heard from a woman who was in the order, or when this happened, and she spoke to the person. So first of all, there were rumors that babies were born of incest, and, well, I mean, they're still born of incest, but they were born of incest. I mean, my own dad's married to his sister, so that's not a secret. So there was babies born of incest, and they were born with missing limbs and, like, body parts, or, like, with just, you could tell they had brain problems. And the rumors were that they would just kill them and bury them. I don't know how true that is, because, like, I have seen kids with, like, missing ears and stuff like that from incest marriages, but I haven't seen, like, super crazy stuff happening. And I know that a lot of that is because the leader is actually secretly blood testing people to see who can, like, marry who without deformities. I don't even know if that's legal, but he's been doing that for years now, because there have been babies born with, like, deformities and stuff. And I don't know how true this is, but there was definitely a lot of people talking about it, especially people a few generations older than me, talking about how when a baby was born with deformities or missing limbs or things like that, they would just kill it and bury it. I don't know how true that is. Seems weird that, you know, we don't see very many deformed incest children, you know? It's kind of interesting. So anyways, that was one of the rumors. And then another one was, I think this one's more true than, I don't know. It's because of the person that told me. I really trust what they say. They said that this woman who was a sibling to her husband, so it was an incest marriage. They had a child. She was pregnant for 9 months. Everyone knew she was pregnant, and she didn't show up to church for like a week or two because she had just had her baby. And then like 3 weeks after, she showed up at church, and the girl that told me this said that she went up to her and was like, "Congratulations on your baby, where is it?" And the girl looked at her, looked down, was really sad, and walked away. She didn't say anything. So rumors spread fast, right? Because this woman had been pregnant for 9 months. We hadn't seen her for 3 weeks, and then she shows up and there's no baby, there was no funeral, no one has any clue what happened to this baby. There was people saying that the baby was born black, and some people were saying it was because she cheated, and other people were saying it's because the Kingstons actually have black blood in them. And it's very rare to have a black baby when you have a little bit of black blood, but it's not impossible. It's happened. You can actually Google it. It's actually happened, where the husband thinks the wife's cheating, and then they do a blood test and the baby's his, even though they're two white people having a black baby. So that's what people believe, that either she cheated or that the Kingstons have black blood. And you know what makes more sense is that the Kingstons had black blood and the baby was born black, and they had to keep it a secret. And I know that sounds really, like, morbid, but I mean, think of how they think of other races. Like, they really think that other races are just so beneath them because they're not a part of the 12 tribes of they're not a part of the 12 tribes of Israel. So I mean, sometimes I feel like they think of them as less than animals. But I guess it depends on the family, because some families were more respectable and other families weren't. Obviously, I don't know if that happened, but we have no clue what happened to her baby. There was never a funeral. And I was alive at that time, so I do remember her being pregnant. But she had a lot of kids. She could have been she was pregnant a lot. So tell me what you guys think in the comments down below. What do you think happened? I don't really know, obviously, but I do believe there was a lot of babies buried, especially back in the 1930s, 1940s, because there was a bunch of just undocumented babies. So, you know, who's gonna know? I kind of want to do like a slit. Is that weird? What if I just take a card and do like the Masonic? Oh, it didn't work as good as I thought. The blood atonement. You guys know what the blood atonement is? You should look it up. It's a bit weird. Ooh. Ooh, this is fun. I have been wanting to tell the story for a while, and there's been a lot of people asking about the Bountiful area. And that Bountiful area is like still considered very sacred, very talked about. And every year on the 4th and 24th of July, order members go there and they do these yearly celebrations. So if you ever go there around the 4th or 24th, you'll see all these plig rigs. You guys don't know what plig rigs are. The polygamous vans, they look like pedophile vans, and they're just lined up outside of that Bountiful area. It's quite a sight to see. I used to go there every single year for 17 years, right? And one person, he ended up leaving the order. I think he went back to the order because I don't know. But I heard that he was so mad at the order that he went to the potty on the holy spot because he was so upset. I don't know what happened that made him so driven to do that, but he did. Anyways, I hope you guys liked this video. Leave a comment down below what you think happened or what you would like to hear about next. You guys probably won't be seeing me until November, but I have some interviews in line and some really cool people that I want you to meet. Thank you for watching, and thank you for all the love and support that you guys give on my videos. I can't thank you enough. I will see you in November. Have a great spooky Halloween.